Sonia Varashin was a 42-year-old single female who lived by herself. She was a pediatric nurse. Sonia didn't lead a risky lifestyle. She was somewhat quiet. She was friendly to people, but she was quiet.
Throughout working on this case, I would come out here and sit. This is one of the places where you can feel a little bit closer to Sonia.
Sonia was targeted. However, she may have not known who did this to her, but they knew who she was. Monday morning, 30th of August 2010, Orangeville Police responded to a report of a car found abandoned behind a business on Broadway in Orangeville. Officers arrived at this car, spoke to the people who called it in, who told them that they first observed the car about 8:30 in the morning. License plate was queried. That license plate came back to Sonia Varashin, who is the victim of this homicide.
First thing I was involved in was the recovery of her motor vehicle. It was a Corolla, Toyota Corolla. There appeared to be blood on the rear trunk area. The other issue for me at the time was that car had to be returned there by someone other than herself. Someone sitting in that car may have dropped fiber from a coat or pants, or dropped a head hair, an arm hair, so there's potential DNA inside the car, so we had to make sure we could secure that and collect that evidence in a timely and proper manner.
The officers responded to her home to check on her well-being. Sonia was not at the home. Officers discovered that there had been a violent event. Shortly after that, the Orangeville Police called the OPP for assistance, and that's how we got involved.
There was evidence outside the house on the front step. The interior of the house, there was a great deal of blood found. So we have to be careful as to where we're walking. We have to be properly clothed and gowned so that we're not leaving any of our own evidence. We try and look for things that may have been moved, may have been touched by a suspect. There's a saying that every contact leaves a trace. We take special consideration and we take special care with those type of items to record them properly and to collect them properly.
On September 5th, a gentleman was walking his dog on Beach Grove side road, and his dogs ran into the bush, and he followed the dogs, and he found the remains of Sonia Varashin.
Unfortunately, it was a number of days later during a very hot and wet time period. Both heat and the rain affect DNA greatly. When she was found, she was in very poor condition. Unfortunately, she becomes evidence for us, and we treat her as gingerly as possible, getting her down to the coroner's building for proper examination. Several exhibits were taken from her in the hopes of finding DNA samples of any suspect as well.
Well, I think everybody watching TV sees the shows like CSI where you put the DNA in and the next thing you know there's a big picture of a person's face and where they live. It's not like that.
The Center of Forensic Sciences developed a very minor male profile off of a sample.
We compare them to the National DNA Data Bank, and we compare them to those samples that we've collected
from the community to the number of hundreds were taken. The purpose of that would be to possibly find the suspect, but also more importantly, or as importantly, to eliminate people from that profile.
We haven't identified the DNA yet. There could be a number of reasons. The owner of that DNA has never had their DNA taken. Perhaps they're deceased.
That weak sample will always be a weak sample, but what's changed is the technology having the ability to make that weak sample a much stronger sample.
StemX was adopted by the Center of Forensic Sciences in 2016, and essentially it is a software application that can take complex mixtures of DNA and pull them apart and give us individual profiles where we didn't have individual profiles before. Now with StarMix, we can actually pull these apart and potentially eliminate our witnesses and victim and have just one profile left, which is hopefully our suspect's profile.
With the Center for Forensic Sciences, whenever there's a new process or a new technique, we're quick to pick up the phone and call them and ask them to test these samples again. Someday we will find the owner of that DNA.
So I tried calling her back, left her 2 voicemails, she hasn't got back to me. But basically, there was that tip, which was the 527. And
so the nature of the tip essentially is just no anonymous tip, is it? Or
no.
Since 2010, there has been full-time investigators assigned to this case, and there still are. We have a number of officers who that is their day-to-day activity. They attend to this case, they look at everything, they manage the tips, they interview people, they collect DNA samples. It's a full-time job.
Is that all the information they give you?
There was a bunch of information.
Oh, okay.
That was the only thing in regards to Sonia.
We want to do a good job for the family. We want to catch the killer. In homicide investigations, it's difficult. It's a difficult decision on whether to tell the family or release that information to the public on how somebody was murdered. This is a case where we don't want to release that information. It's very important to keep that to ourselves. It forms the evidence to this case. We try and explain to the family members why we can't tell them, and they understand that.
They took down one of the posters again of Sonia, the ones that we had laminated, and so one of them has been removed. I told her we could help again, get them put back up. My role as a victim liaison, obviously I took over from somebody else, and so it was a lot of learning and getting to know the family. You find that it's not an easy role to just assume. There's a lot of emotion involved in it, especially with a case that has been ongoing for a period of time. It's a lot of time spent trying to make sure that they can trust you. They know that you're there for them, and they know that they can trust you, and just making sure that you build that relationship with them. In a case like this, there's always going to be a lot of ups and downs, and you have to be able to manage those and try to answer their questions as best you can without jeopardizing anything with the case. Throughout working on this case, I would come out here and sit, and it sometimes sounds silly when I say it to myself out loud. The other crime scenes come and go. Somebody else moves into Sonia's old house. It's not a place you can really go and sit. I don't have a personal attachment to Sonia prior to this case, so for me this was my attachment to her, and this is where I would come, and whether it was listening to a song that I thought she would listen to, or believing that sitting here and thinking through the case, well, maybe something will pop into my head that I didn't think of before just by sitting out here. I always wondered if it was a little bit too much attachment to the case, but it's what kept me going and what kept me motivated and hoping to find those answers.
A lot of people think that the time is detrimental to an investigation. Sometimes it is, other times it's not. I think that as time goes by, people watching this or watching what comes on the news may remember something. They may have always thought of something that was in their minds maybe trivial. We want them to come forward and tell us about it, because we'll decide whether it's trivial or not. We know where all the pieces go, or where they should go, and we want people to call us.
It may take some time, and I know it's been a few years, but somebody has the missing piece and the missing key to this puzzle.
I think back to other cases, and where a lot of time has passed by and we've solved them. One that comes to mind is Catherine Wilson, who was a 12-year-old girl in Kirkland Lake who went missing in 1970. Though her body was never found, her killer was arrested and charged and convicted in 2009 for her murder. So that is 39 years. So we never lose hope, and we never stop trying.